meeting of September 10th, 2012 to order at 7 o'clock. Everyone please rise for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call roll, please. Sturrock.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Conan.
Here.
Bullock.
Here.
Ballard.
Here.
Cooper. Here. Audi.
Everyone has the agenda in front of them. Are there any additions, deletions, or is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, I'd like to remove new business F.
Okay, which is the repair replacement to village sidewalks.
Indefinitely.
You'll let me know when to put it back
That's
on.
correct.
Any other changes, deletions, additions, or is there a motion?
I'll move that the agenda be accepted as amended.
Motion by Mr. Ballard. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clark. Any other discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Any citizen comment on non-agenda items? Any citizen comments? Hearing none, we don't have any presentations tonight. Administrative reports. We have our building department report, our commissioner liaison reports, planning commission meeting minutes. Any commissioner liaison reports at this time? Hearing none, we move to the consent agenda. Everyone has in front of them the approval of the regular council meeting minutes of August 27, 2012, and the payment of bills. Are there any additions or any deletions, or is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Audi, as presented.
Sure.
Motion by Mr. Audi. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Old business, Spencer Street update. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none. Mr. Ballard, your agenda item?
Yes. Spencer Street, the drainage issue that we had over there, it's been negotiated with the contractor, and the contractor to start the punch list and drainage issue by the end of this week. Can I just go on with the downtown sidewalks, etc.?
That's
Or that's
first
coming up?
agenda item.
Okay.
We can just add in there.
The only other thing I have is the MDOT Bridge Quality Control Meeting, and all items noted in the quality control review, they have been addressed, and the village is up to date, and all records are in here.
Perfect.
Lyle?
Yes.
Are they pulling any aprons out? Or the approaches, I mean?
Yes.
I had heard that.
Yes, there's one that has to be poured yet because of the drainage issue, and there's another one that is going to be pulled out because I didn't like the way it finished. I didn't do the whole one.
And did one of them Mr. Hills?
Yes.
I know he had a concern.
Yes, there was.
Any other questions for Mr. Ballard? Hearing none. New business, CDBG Sidewalk Project DDA District. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none. Village Clerk, this is your agenda item.
It is just ongoing. I don't even know where to begin. I talked to Mike Rosny at the county. The contract that we have on file with CDBG said that we had 142 some odd dollars, 142,000 some odd dollars for CDBG. That number is 110 approximately. He said that when they were moving money around at the county, they double gave us 1 year's allocation. So what we have left to spend is 110. He suggests that the village revisit the blight status on the DDA district. HUD recommends this is done every 10 years. He recommends that we start that early next year. If the blight status is removed from the district, CDBG will not easily be spent in the DDA district anymore. It's not. That's kind of what has gotten us so we can spend money fairly freely in the DDA district. Because we only have $110,000, well, let me sidestep here. The downtown sinking sidewalks, Eurotech cannot do that project. They called our engineer. And they told them that they had worked on another project where they were trying to lift sidewalks and they were not lifting evenly. So they were good enough to call our engineers and tell them that they cannot do our project. So what that leaves us with is tear out replacement of the downtown sidewalks, that ribbon. Because we only have $110,000 left in CDBG, the sidewalks that we have slated in our project, it's going to come in probably close to that. We're hoping to spend pretty much all of it, which does not leave us any extra to do the downtown sinking sidewalks. I've talked to Mr. Ballard about this. I've talked to Andy about this. That's going to have to be a project that the street department most likely will have to take on. Because they are sinking. It's a hazard. They need to be fixed. They unfortunately we have discussed at many different levels what to do about this, and it's just been an ongoing thing.
The budget for that next year.
So that brings you up to where I am. When I prepared the agenda statement, we were thinking, well, maybe we can take out some of the sidewalks that we had slated to be done and do the downtown, and that's just, we had to get this bid out. We're always at a risk of losing money, but right now we've got to get this project done and billed and back to us, get our money paid, get the money paid, because if not by December 31st we lose it, and it's $100,000. We're not willing to do that. So the bids have, if I'm correct, Andy, the bids have gone out. I don't know when, this morning. So that's where we're at. The reason that this is an agenda item for you was because previously we made, Mr. Ballard made a motion to pay Giffords according to their proposal, which was $20,000. I don't remember, it was some odd number. That number has increased because we have gone over when we thought we were going to be getting these bids out. One thing that was added to the bid package, which kind of segues into our next agenda item, is Armada again is slated to happen on October 20th. The area where Armada again is happening is downtown and Church Street. There's other areas too, but pretty much where our sidewalk project is happening. So they had put in the bid package to have the contractor not pour sidewalks 3 days prior, 2 days prior.
The day before
and the day of, which is a Saturday. So that's included in the bid package. I thought you should know that because either way, that's your next agenda item, but we had to allow for it so we could get the bids out. So Andy has prepared a new cost estimate or additional charges for this CDBG. Again, this is soft costs. This will be paid for by Black Grant. But we need to change it since we made the motion. You made the motion to cap it. So I'm going to turn it over to Andy.
Yeah, the additional fees were just basically because we had gone back and forth and added some sidewalk in and removed it out. Like we added First Street, we talked about adding the Main Street sinking part, and we decided to take that out. We took out Spencer Street because after looking at the map and
that was too dicey.
Yeah, it was the right-of-way line is probably along the back of the walk, and that's what it appears that the DDA district is bound to. So we decided to take that out, and basically that incurred some more costs because we had to do another drawing, we had to come out and do another site study. So that was about $800. And basically what I did was I just went through and added up all of my time, said this is how many hours I spent on this, this is how many hours I spent on that. So it's purely my time and material. And then the bidding and advertising, because we were basically done with the book, and then we added in, or took out part of the sidewalk and then added in First Street. That was an additional $500 worth of time to go back through the bid book, recheck it, and then submit it for bids. So it's an additional $1,300 on top of that $20,000, which I believe the total then would be $21,780.
$21,780.
Yes.
Jeff, I want to be sure with you that that motion that I have on that statement is sufficient. If not, you can maybe give us better wording.
Yeah, I can, but I had a question, if I may. You know, we're kind of engineering all the sidewalk repair for this year, and if we have sinking sidewalks, and they're bidding a unit price for sidewalk, I mean, it's essentially a sidewalk replacement now either way. We get unit prices, and they're going to be here. Why aren't we, I mean, I'm just throwing it out. I mean, are we going to start this whole process again next year? And you know what I'm saying? If you got them here and you,
The thing is,
I mean, budget-wise, I understand that's a problem, but
Timing-wise is the problem, the biggest problem we have. Right now, initially, our timeline was the end, completion was at the end of October. Substantial completion was the 28th, and I believe the last one was the 31st. We're now into November. And our timing with CDBG is we have to have it done and billed to them, and I believe paid back by
I
December 31st.
understand, but I mean, even if you could do
An addendum.
on the side of the street, you're saving your, I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying,
And we don't have enough money in CDBG to do it.
I know, I realize that, but I'm saying, you have your contractor there, I'm assuming he's bidding unit prices for the sidewalk replacement. I just think it's,
Yeah, we had discussed it. and
Yeah, I just-
decided not to, but
Yeah.
we can always put together
An
another
addendum.
little package or.
And that's
Yeah.
that's strictly up to council.
they're not
if
gonna
they
turn the
wanna
work
do.
down, I guarantee you that.
Well, if you do an addendum and it comes in at, let's say, the difference between 110 and maybe 90,
And you can add more work.
then you can do, like Jeff said, you can do 20,000.
we'd have to make sure it's billed separately though, because we have to turn the bill right over to
No, I think what
CDBG.
Mike's saying is, the only limitation on CDBG is 110. If it comes in at
Oh,
No,
right.
85,000, you've
yeah.
got
We
an
can add
additional
some
20,000,
Right.
25,000.
We can look at that when the bids come in and see
True.
what the numbers.
I'm just saying, when you have contractors geared up and ready to go, that should do as much as you can to,
Mobilization.
yes.
Well, we're really, I mean, that is really taking up too. You gotta remember, this event is happening. You know, so we're now, all of our sidewalks are gonna be in some kind of disarray. You know, downtown itself wasn't gonna be in disarray, and we'll talk about this on the next agenda item, on whether we're having, you know, whether the plan is to have, I know last year they had tents and stuff set up downtown. You know, you're adding to the destruction of the sidewalks. I don't mean it to sound like that, but.
I think, well, we're going fast forwarding a little bit
Well,
here. I mean,
but one has to do with the other. I mean, you gotta consider everything.
Madam-
So,
Madam President, I'll resolve to accept Giffords Webster's summary of options and fees for professional services for sidewalk replacement in the CBD redevelopment CDBG project not to exceed $21,780.
motion by Mr. Ballard, is there a second?
I'll support it.
Support by Mr. Sturt, any other discussion? I believe it's a roll call.
it is, but yeah, I have.
Can I have one quick discussion? Eurotech is out.
Yes.
Replacement, full replacement is still possibly doable.
Possible.
What about mud jacking? We originally talked about mud jacking that.
The county is not real comfortable with mud
No, they
jacking
weren't?
per
Okay.
se, no.
Okay.
It's another, that's another hiccup.
Okay.
The maintenance.
But if you're gonna do an addendum, here we've locked ourselves into a price again. If there's an addendum, obviously there's gonna be more costs.
We don't have time for an addendum. We've got to go with this project, we've got to move this project along.
Okay, well, okay.
Well, the bids are out. I mean, is there a way to continue that bid process and add on to it as you go?
If you get unit prices, yeah, you just say we've got more foot.
I mean, bring it back when we get unit prices.
Well, and if we
Right,
get,
once
yeah,
the
if our
person
bid
comes
comes
back, we
in,
can look
yeah.
at it.
Yeah, once it comes in, you can always negotiate
Let's
with
get
the
this
contractor.
kicked off.
And you have to remember too, that ribbon of sidewalk is, that was part of sparkling, wasn't it? That ribbon was not just plain cement, it was the, yeah.
Well, that sparkle's never been much.
No, it hasn't. I agree.
Brick wall.
No, first of all, it's never going to work with concrete.
Any other discussion?
Andy, do you have anything else?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Ballard?
Yes.
Stirrett,
Yes.
Audi,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Koenig,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you.
and when is the bid opening scheduled for, Andy?
24th.
24th, yep, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next agenda item is a special event approval for Armada Gannon. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, Village Clerk, this is your agenda item.
Okay, we received a special event permit application for Armada Gannon from Armada Board and Bike. They have everything that they need. They have their insurance. They have the map of their run. There's their indemnifications here and signed. Yeah, all their stuff is here, so it's here for you to look at. There's, I guess I have a question though for Mrs. Stork, because there is, there's several events listed here, and I know that the parade at 7, you guys aren't doing that. That's coming from the DDA, which I'll get into in a minute. All this other stuff though is being put on by Board and Bike?
Yes.
Everything? Okay. The bike parade and the pep parade?
You know, there's sponsors like the pep parades, Armada Board, Armada Groom, and Bike Parade is another group in town.
Are those being done on streets though? I mean,
No.
Okay, all right. Thanks. I just, that was my...
Last year they were done in the section right in front of the groom spot is actually where it was. And this is the first year that we're looking at a bike parade, which, you know, depending on what group comes forward, it may or may not happen when we put it in to assure that we have that spot.
Okay. And just, you know, again, you heard the last conversation. I don't know at what point we're going to be in the sidewalks. You know, I mean, that's going to be that could be an issue. So I just, you know, we need to know that. You don't want to schedule.
The proposal was put out to go around those dates, am I correct though?
The proposal says, how does it say, that just not to pour sidewalks the day of or the day before. That way they'll be able to be walked upon. I mean, driven on, probably not.
No, we're not driving on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weather permitting.
Hopefully we're not driving on it.
Well, and just a side note, I received a permit application from the DDA for the parade. Our chief is not here, so it can't go through the process until he's back, but it'll be ready to go on the next agenda, which is the 24th.
Is that the parade at 7 p.m.?
That is the parade at 7 p.m.
We'd spoken with Howard, Chief Howard, before the event, and he didn't have a problem with the parade. He asked one thing, the same thing he asked last year, that we didn't have any stops in the parade. The very first year we had a stop in the parade for the Thriller dance. We took it out last year because it kept the street closed too long. And he said if that's in the same situation, he didn't have a problem with it at all. Is there a way that the motion on the parade could be made at the same time pending Howard's approval?
Ed
Because
hasn't
we
looked
need
at
to
it either, though.
Yeah, it goes to Howard first, it goes to Ed, then it comes to me.
Because Howard doesn't really approve it to us until he makes sure that he has personnel that's available to actually close the roads too. He's got to coordinate all that.
One side note on that though is if the DDA does indeed do the parade, that is on the village's insurance. I mean, the DDA is an offset of the village. It isn't, Armada Board and Bike is covering all the other things that are on here. But if the DDA does the parade, that's.
Not a if, it is a DDA function.
Okay.
And
Well, I'm just letting you know.
John's
It's
running
something to
it.
think about.
Was said at the meeting, everybody was invited to the meeting. So, I mean, it's not a if, the DDA is putting on the parade.
How come the Armada Board of Bike is not doing the parade? Because they're doing everything else.
I don't know.
It'd be a question for them.
They didn't ask to do the parade. Well, at the meeting, Board and Bike wasn't even there.
Excuse me, I was.
Pardon?
I was there.
Okay. Okay, well, you were there.
Thank you.
But John said he's putting on the parade. I think that he meant the DDA, but he said he's putting on the parade. So, and everybody went with that, and there was notice,
Well, we can
nobody
discuss
objected.
that at our next meeting. Right now, we're talking about board and bikes, part of Armada Geddon.
No, she kept
Right.
saying if
Right.
DDA.
Right.
I'm saying there's no if. DDA is putting on that parade.
Right, but the agenda item before us is the board and bike portion of Armada Geddon. Are there any other questions that anyone has on council, or any discussion?
Howard had approved it all?
Howard has approved the board and bike part, yes, and so has Ed. So,
And we don't need to pay for extra police or fire, it's all included?
I don't know. I think because he did already budgeted for it from last year, that it's an event that's already happened before.
Oh, okay.
I believe it, I'm sorry, Mr. Audi, it says in here that
Yeah.
last year they only used, Armada only used one of them. One police crossing or something like that.
Yeah, I believe
So
it's gonna be already the existing officers, just
Yeah.
gonna watch the traffic down as they're crossing from the trail onto Church, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Madam President, I only have one concern on this, and I'm looking at our progress clause for our construction. It says that on October 20th, so we're going to close down our construction on the 19th and the 20th. And the 20th is a Saturday. Okay, if they're going to close it down on the 19th, on the 18th, they have forms set, sidewalks tore out, not poured back. Okay. I think we have a safety issue there with people being downtown. Now, normal traffic is one thing. Festival or an event traffic is another. I would not want to be the contractor that had gotten the job, tore the things up, set the forms, somebody comes in and stumbles into them and breaks a leg or gets injured. All right? There isn't a contractor alive whose insurance is going to take care of that. All right? My thinking on this is that because of the constraints we have in our construction here, I would not be for having this downtown this year. And just for that reason, I believe that we have a safety factor that we, as elected officials, have to look beyond our event, and we have to think of the safety and welfare of the residents and people that are going to be downtown, as well as our businesses. I like to see it. I think it's a wonderful thing that Board and Bike does. But if they could move it to the fairgrounds, that would be a big help to us. Or up to school or something like that. I mean, the downtown area this year, because of our time constraints, because of the construction area that we are going to turn it into, I don't think this would be a safe place for people or an event crowd to be in.
Andy, do we have any projected timeline now? Because we sent the bids out, so we're able to project at some point when work will start. Do we have any guidelines on that yet?
Just on the progress clause, we said commence construction around October 11th.
That's when we'll start?
That's when
This is
they'll
now-
start.
It was in 8 days, basically.
Is there a way that, I mean, if we know where this Armada Geddon is going to occur, and let's say they start the digging and the tear out in that area first, pour the concrete, and then they're done with that within the 6 or 7 day parameter, or do it on the other end, you know, like start on First Street at the beginning, so that way after this event, is there any way that the contractor would try to work with us on that?
We can do that during the pre-construction meeting or the pre-construction conference. We can talk to them about trying to stage it in that way so that we can avoid the downtown area. But I mean, that is kind of still his methods to do it how he wants to do it. So it's kind of hard to tell him you have to do this little specific area first.
How much sidewalk is in that area that's going to be taken up? Church Street?
Church Street,
A lot of
a lot of it. Well, a lot of the other, the Park Electric side of of Church Street is getting replaced, pretty much from Torrey to Main. There are sections of the other side, not nearly as large as that, but in front of the Township Hall is getting done, in front of Cozy Corner and Waldvor's building over there, that whole corner is getting done. I mean, if Lyle's scenario is right, obviously if there's boards up there and no sidewalk, they'll have it flagged somehow, correct? I mean, can we
Yeah.
flag it off?
We'd have to have them put up some kind of construction tape or put in barrels so that they can kind of limit the area that people can walk through, but, yeah.
Kathy, do you know how many tents you're gonna be having down
We
there?
filled up both sides of the street last year.
So your plan is to have both sides of the street,
Yeah.
to the main streets this year?
Hopefully we have the same thing we had last year.
Main Street, not Church Street though.
Main
right?
Street, Church Street, we had the stage for the band and, you know, the Miss Armada-Gaddon, Mr. Armada-Gaddon. And this year we've moved that to a different location, so it's not really on Church Street. But the drive-in movie theater will still be at Hatterack Mall.
Okay, is anything happening like on Park Electric's side?
Maybe just parking. Park Electric has been generous enough to give us that spot for parking in the past. But again, you have the race that ends at the beginning of Church Street, closer to the trail area. So you have people coming uptown that way still.
Yeah, so we don't want to make them walk in the street.
Can't have cars crossing over the sidewalk either.
Well, with Park Electric and your parking, we've talked to the contractor about not closing off businesses, Larry. Not, so they always have an in and out, so there should be a spot that won't deter that over there. Yeah. I'm not as concerned about that.
What other areas are they gonna use now?
She said both sides of,
No, she said that they moved a lot of stuff to another location.
Oh, the staging is, we're looking at doing the staging in Fifth Third Bank parking lot versus the street over, so that the street didn't have to be closed for the whole day. Plus, it's more.
We don't have anything going there by the Fifth Third.
No.
No, they actually have newer sidewalks. But it also puts the activities down on the Main Street area, which is to keep people on Main Street eating in the restaurants.
The other thing is, if there was a real problem, maybe some of the Church Street stuff would have to move to another location in town.
It's just the drive-in movie.
Yeah, but again, they bring a lot of traffic there.
But it's the drive-in movie in the parade.
I'm not against the drive-in movie, I'm just saying.
No, I'm just.
It's a possibility.
It's a drive-in movie in the run, stops at the beginning of church, so, I mean, we can detour them back over to Fulton to walk back into town. It's more convenient down Church Street, obviously. It ends right about where the old Griffith house is.
I mean, I would just like to say, I would hope that the Armada event would work with the village in the sense that there was some problems that, you know, both sides could be flexible and, you know, try to relocate it to time comes. I mean, because nobody knows. I don't want to
Well,
say no.
you don't know what weather's going to be like in October.
Right.
And
I don't
when
want to
they're
say
gonna
no
be
just
able to
because there
work.
could be a sidewalk closed. I mean, I want it to go on, you know, not, you know. So I just hope that when the time comes, if that occurs, that both sides can work together.
Until we get this job awarded.
Right.
Well, weather, we just don't know. All weather dependent.
Madam President, I'd like to resolve to approve the application from the Armada Board of Bikes for a special event permit on October 20th, 2012, including events downtown, a parade, 5K race between the hours of 11 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Can you take the A parade out, Steve? Because that's coming back the next meeting.
Steve, I got
well, there's the
a
whole
little
bike
problem.
parade.
What's that?
I don't want to set the race up where, I saw this sheet here.
Hold on,
That's
hold on.
not
We
bad.
have a motion outstanding. Let's just finish this
Okay.
first and then there's discussion. There is a motion out there. Steve, are you okay with taking out the parade part?
Yes, I am.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? Is there a second?
Go ahead. I'll support it.
Support by Mr. Sturrit. Okay, now discussion. I'm sorry, Mr. Coleman.
Well, where it says here 5K race between 11 and 10, I don't want to allow any leeway on the race to be in the dark.
Where's,
No,
I
the
saw
event-
that, Kathy.
No.
I just didn't know how firm that sheet was.
No, the 5K isn't from 11 to 10, the event is from 11
Yeah.
to 10.
But because it says in the 5K race between the hours of
Well,
11 and 10.
There's a
I-
comment, there's a
It should be a
comment.
Yeah.
comment.
Well,
There's a
just-
comment
Okay.
after race.
I just wouldn't want the race at night. You know, some people may say it'd be pretty cool, you know, Halloween theme and monsters and things.
we
but-
have a dusk, the race is at dusk, it's about 5-ish, I think, I can't remember the exact.
I think you wrote 5.
Yeah.
It does say 5, I just didn't know how flexible this was.
5:30.
5:30 is when the 5K race.
I just wouldn't want to have the race in the dark.
How long does it take for someone to run that race?
You know, generally, the majority of people are in within the first hour.
An hour. Okay.
There's some stragglers because it's a 5K race / walk.
Right. Okay.
And actually, last year we had somebody on a walker that did the whole walk.
That wasn't their costume?
No, actually, he was injured. It was kind of cool that he did that for himself.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carried. Thank you. And we'll be in contact with you guys as soon as we know a schedule for construction. So hopefully we can all work together and everything goes off wonderfully. Thank you.
That would give them enough time to.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next agenda, Larry's Automotive. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Stewart, this is your agenda item.
Yes, Madam President, this is being brought back to council to get the approval from council to allow the future development here on this property of Larry's Automotive to have the runoff go on to the sewer plant property. I know we briefly discussed it. This has not passed planning commission yet. It'll be on the next meeting. But it was shown to me how this detention basin is going to work. Steve, this might be up your avenue. There's going to be a 4-inch pipe that's going to have an elbow down and out. And what that does is that the right direction? There's a direction that this works, and it doesn't allow oils or gasoline to then come into the sewer plant property. It's a weird
It's a
system.
separator. It separates the
Is that the technical
oil and
name?
gas from the water.
So that was my concern, is that we would get pollutants onto the property. The way it was shown to me, demonstrated, it looks like it's going to work pretty well. So I also looked at the property. It doesn't appear that I mean, it's a distance from the building. And it doesn't appear that it's going to be a problem where it'll make it into our cascade system. So I don't see any reason. My only concern is if for some reason it does contaminate our property. And I did talk to Mr. Larry today, and he's going to give us an indemnification. Is that the correct terminology, Jeff?
Yeah, we could build that into to the easement. And,
Okay.
you know, and if Larry ever were to sell the property, you know, it's good that it's in the chain of title so that his buyer would have the same obligations.
And he's said that that would be fine to do.
And this water anyway, I mean, it's naturally running this way now.
It
It's
is
nothing
naturally
new.
running, yes.
Any other discussion?
Okay,
Okay.
let me look at the motion real quickly, Madam President. This will cover me in indemnification, Jeff?
Yeah, the
Right.
easement agreement will come back. I'm pretty sure, you know, if I get all the information, we can get it back to the second council meeting for approval, and then we'll have it ready for the planning commission action.
Is that the route you'd like to go?
Yeah, whatever resources.
Okay. Because I think at one point you were going to prepare And then-
I have water, but I didn't.
Is that what you would want, a letter from Larry?
Well, no, what, regardless of the pollution issue, anytime you're taking water from another property,
Okay,
I think what I understood from Giffords is, you know, this is gonna be coming on your property, the village needs to give its permission to allow that to happen, and I agree with that. So what we essentially were gonna do is kind of develop a discharge easement, which allows them to carry the water onto the village property and
Okay.
drain. That's where we'll stick the indemnification, is right in that agreement.
okay.
Now, just one other
Yes.
point on this. There's no drain down there. There should be a drain down there. We have several homes past the old railroad tracks or past the trail.
Storm sewer.
Yeah, there is no,
No, it's the top of the hill, Dave.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not much else that Larry can do with this.
yeah.
Can I just ask, you said detention pond, is this a retention where it holds water, or is it gonna be dry most of the time?
I think
Most of the time.
Detention, okay.
Dry most of the time.
So, I mean, and I did look at a website and, you know, it gave percentages, and I don't know the exact, but like 40% of water in a detention area goes into the ground, and then 25% or something like that, I'm just tossing out numbers, evaporates, and then only like 15% becomes runoff. So when you really think about how much water is going to go there and whether this would even happen, to get 2 feet high, it's probably slim to never going to happen. But we have to err on
Right,
cautious
well,
and protect the residents.
The other thing too, and I'm talking long-term, you know, these things change over time a little bit too, if they're not properly maintained or they're not, and that's the other thing that I would feel the village wants to protect itself is, should something happen to that system on someone else's property, they correct it. Not, it could be Larry, it could be who Larry sells it to or who that person sells it to. But so that we protect our property, we want to make sure that they maintain that detention pond, also cut it, you know, do whatever you do to make it fully operational.
Right.
Because that could cause us problems.
And we do have a visual of that facility because we'll be on the sewer plant property. Okay?
Perfect.
I'll make a motion to authorize the village attorney to prepare an easement agreement to allow for the discharge of stormwater collected on property commonly known as 73155 Fulton Street onto village property, subject to the petitioner agreeing to reimburse the village for the attorney fees and costs incurred by the village in the preparation and recording of the proposed easement agreement.
Motion by Mr. Sturd, is there a second?
Second.
Support by Mr. Cronin. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
And then we'll come to planning commission on Monday is the expected date if anybody has any other issues with it.
Perfect. Okay, next agenda item is water reliability study. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, village clerk, this is your agenda item.
Actually, it's probably more Steve's, but we'll send it over to Doug.
Yes, Doug Sky was here from Rome. They put together this water study, so Doug, if you wouldn't mind going ahead with that.
We did do a water reliability study. We sent a draft to Ed and Steve for their review, and they had an opportunity to look it over. They didn't have any comments, so must have been a really good report. So we had it forwarded to the council for your review. So tonight we're here to discuss it with you. I'm gonna let Dan did the bulk of the work with the study. Let him just hit the highlights with you. If there's questions, we'll field your questions. And what we're looking for is for the village to take action to accept the water study and then authorize us to send a copy to the DEQ for their review and approval. So with that, I'll let Dan just hit some of the highlights with you, then we can answer questions.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Dan Bartlett.
Bartlett?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the DEQ requires that all water providers, public water systems, submit a 5-year plan. We last did ours in 2007 for Armada, so this is our 5-year update. And you basically just look at all aspects of the system, the water supply, storage, treatment, distribution, demands,
and identify any deficiencies that may be there, and then come up with a plan for addressing those. We started out by working with the DPW, going over their record for supply and treatment and billing, and formatted this report out. The DPW has a lot of very good records, made it nice and easy for us. They keep some really clear records, so I think they do a pretty good job there. Regarding first item I have on the executive summary, the report's pretty lengthy. It kind of has to cover the whole range of DEQ requirements for these reports, but front end of the report's the executive summary. Regarding supply, the village has 3 active wells. We looked at the current and the estimated 5-year and 20-year demands per DEQ requirements. We estimated a modest annual increase in water demand for the village, about 1% a year. So all of the figures that we have in here are based on that for 5 and 20 years out. Now, if you happen to have a large water user that's looking to come into the village, you might need to take another look at your new demands along with capacity, make sure that you have enough capacity. But as far as supply, you're fine now, and you're fine for the 5 and 20-year demands under the estimated demands. Water quality, the village has a treatment plant that's there for arsenic treatment and iron removal. We went through the records that the DPW had regarding testing on arsenic and iron removal. It was working as needed and bringing the levels down below the required maximums. One thing that the tests show that the hardness of the waters, it's fairly hard water. Not uncommon for communities that have water above 200 milligrams per liter, I think is what they came up with as their hardness. There's no known health issues with that. It can result in some film on your laundry and dishes and stuff like that. But there are ways to treat that at the plant, but most communities don't do hardness treatment at their plant. They allow the residents to do that in their homes to their taste because it's a very expensive operation, and a lot of the water that you supply will end up just going into yards, washing cars and all that. So usually most communities like not to do it just because it doesn't make sense, the cost benefit. We also looked at storage. Armada has the 1 elevated water storage tank. The capacity is fine for our current and our projected demands. It has been having its regular maintenance and inspections as it needs to. I think the last one was 2010. Usually do those every 5 to 10 years. So a few more years, we're looking at another inspection of the tank. The distribution system, we typically recommend that communities will flush all their hydrants at least once a year. Armada is doing it twice a year, so that ensures the ongoing operation of the hydrants, identifies any that may need to be replaced. I don't think they've identified any of those that were in need of repair. Same with hydrant or the valve turning, all the valves in the system. We typically recommend that communities exercise each valve in their system at least once every 2 years, preferably once a year. The village is doing at least once a year in every valve. That helps ensure their long life. If you just leave them sit and don't turn them, they'll seize up and need to be replaced. So the village is keeping up with the maintenance there well. We did develop a water model of the entire distribution system. Basically just take your layout of your pipes, put them into this hydraulic model, and you can run calcs to see what the estimated pressures and fire flows are throughout the village. We developed that, and we went out with DPW staff, took some hydrant flow tests just to make sure the model is matching what you're actually seeing out in the field. Everything matched up pretty well. Our distribution system, your pressures are usually around 50 to 65 psi during peak demand conditions. State recommends that you have at least 35 psi. 50 to 60 is preferred, which is about where you're at. Fire protection. We found that recommended fire demand are available in about 75% of the village. The areas that don't have the recommended fire demand are primarily due to dead end lines and small diameter mains, like 4-inch mains, unless those carry small amounts of flow if you have a big fire. That's not uncommon as well. I mean, most communities in the state have a lot of these smaller dead end mains, and it's just a matter of an ongoing process just to systematically go and replace some, close some dead end lines as funds become available. Or if you're doing a street reconstruction project, it's a good idea to look at the water down that area and see if that needs to be replaced. Now, towards the middle of the report, we do have some recommendations for distribution system improvements that you guys can look at as funds become available. That's Exhibit 2. We separated these out into higher priority recommendations and then some secondary priority projects. The higher priority ones, the one that kind of stuck out was Armada schools right now. They're on Armada Center Road. They're serviced by just a single line on Armada Center. If that line were to break, then there'd be no water at the schools. So one of our high priority recommendations was consider adding a, kind of see here, add another line somewhere off of Spencer and then coming back up to Armada schools. Another one we had recommended was we have a 4-inch main on West Main Street between a couple of 12s. We replace that with a 12 that would improve fire flow down there in the middle of town. And over on Prospect and T Street, there's some 4-inch main, a long run of 4-inch, so that's bringing your available fire flow the low. That's one of the areas that were below the recommended fire flow amounts. So we had that recommended as a high priority improvement. And we have numerous other ones recommended here as your secondary priority. These have more localized improvements in fire flow. They can be done at a later date as you have funds available or with your reconstruction projects. And the ultimate goal being to eliminate dead-end lines and get rid of all your pipes that are under 6 inch. So that's the bulk of it. You'll see your system's looking very good. It's just a matter of some water main replacement, loop closure projects to do over the years, and there are some maps and cost estimates in here to help you with planning.
It's probably about time that Armada felt benefits of all the work that you guys have done over the years.
Yes.
So you have a pretty healthy water report other than like Dan said.
Yeah, and I do a lot of these for communities about the state, and I would say Armada's looking better than most overall, for sure.
Can you have him talk to your DEQ contact? That would be really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the DEQ.
The DEQ will always come back and find something good.
We're finding that.
Yeah.
I have one question. You mentioned in there that there's a difference, and I think you brought this up before, Lyle, when you were the water commissioner. The difference between what's billed and what's used in water. Was there a solution to that or an answer? I don't recall that.
That's called water loss.
Right. But do we know where that is? Besides maybe the fire department or the cleaning the fire hydrants?
Sometimes it could be in your plant also. If it's not metered in your plant, when you backwash your plant, so that could be a significant user of some of your water. What is their loss?
They were actually in 2011, it was about 7%, and
It's actually pretty low.
2009 it was 17,
That's right.
2010 it was 20.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it dropped last year.
But 7%, how do we get that to
It's actually really good. The DEQ wants you
Well,
10
because you
less.
think about it, every time they flush a hydrant, that's unaccounted for water. If you do any water main improvement projects and a contractor flushes the water main when you're testing it, if your fire department has runs and they use water, that's unaccounted for water. 7% is pretty low, actually.
Okay.
So you have a fairly tight system. Either
Yeah.
that or you're billing most everything that you're producing.
I can pay that to
What do you think, Ben? We doing good?
You touched on funds quite a few times, funds. Is there funds that you know of that we would be able to request or participate in as such?
The drinking water, as you guys are aware of, still has funds available, and so you can reapply for that. It would be more challenging for the village to rank higher, because really all you're looking at doing is replacing older mains. You don't have a water quantity need, you don't really have a water quality need like you had when you needed to treat your arsenic, which scored you very high. So you might not score as well. On the other hand, that's one of the places where they have been putting money in, is in the drinking water fund and the sanitary revolving fund, to try and encourage communities to do projects. Hence, they've been able to fund more of those projects, and a lot of the people that have applied and requested have been funded, because the fund is pretty healthy these days. But that's a low interest loan, as you guys are all familiar with, so it's not grant money. Short of that, there's not a lot of available funding.
I thought just maybe there was a new study.
I wish. I wish.
Are there any other questions for Doug and Dan? Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Appreciate your patience tonight.
We appreciate that.
Oh, I'm sorry, there is a motion in front of everyone.
I'd like to resolve to accept the water reliability study as presented from Roll Incorporated.
Motion by Mr. Clark.
Place on file.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You had a pause.
I know.
Don't pause with her, she's.
Don't breathe in between sentences.
I'm sorry.
I want to get the comment in the right spot.
I'm sorry. Motion by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion?
I'd like to comment on the study and report of role of what they've done in the past. And it's been, to my desire and liking, very well done, in other words. So on their part, I'd like to thank them myself personally.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll forward it to the DEQ.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, next agenda item is building inspector request for licensing and registration reimbursement. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, Mr. Lemieux is not here tonight. We had a lengthy discussion about this at our last meeting. From what I understand, Jill, you were going to talk to the auditors again. Is that how we left it?
Yeah, but I really didn't see a need because they're not gonna change their mind. They're not gonna say, well, no, what I said before doesn't apply now. Now it's different. They're gonna tell me the same thing. So, and that was that they did not recommend that being that he's an independent contractor, that's his cost of doing business.
I would like to make a motion to the
God bless
fact that this council does not reimburse any inspector for their licensing or regulatory affairs because they are getting, in other words, a retainer, or they're getting paid for their services anyhow. And then, like some of them, they service other communities. And, you know, we shouldn't pick up, you know, either 2/3 or a half or any of it. And I think it's a legal point that our auditors have commented on very legally and thoroughly.
Any other discussion? Okay. Is there a motion at this time?
Your motion was that the village does not reimburse any inspector for licensing or regulatory affairs.
Right.
That's your motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I need a motion.
I'll support it.
Motion by Mr. Wallach, support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion?
I'm just questioning, don't you not need a motion to not take action?
Right.
You don't need a motion to not take action, correct, Jeff?
Well, I think Marv was looking more long-term.
So it's not right.
You know what I mean?
So it's not
I agree
brought
with,
Okay.
you know.
So this is permanent then? Or?
Well, the other thing, I don't mean, but
Please.
if you remember the discussion last time, and with the budget coming up, I think there was some thought to possibly looking at the fees charged.
Right.
And I'm not sure it would take a lot of fee adjustment to get $112, but that's nice. For the next budget, you can take a look at that.
I think I would agree with Harry. I don't see a need for a motion. I mean, we did it once, we paid him, and then auditors found it, and we just have to remember that we can't do it. You know what I mean?
Well, just we have a matter of record then that, you know, the clerk's, it's on file in the files,
And Dennis
shouldn't
is
have to be
looking for
brought
an
up.
answer, so.
You know, really. That's all you have to do is somebody make the motion and as it's written, second it and turn it down.
No, that's what I'm
That
saying.
does the
He
same
at least
thing.
needs
Yeah,
an
let's do
answer.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, somebody withdraw the motion.
Well, is Marv, are you still comfortable with your motion, or are you gonna?
Well, I'm comfortable with it because I don't want
Okay.
it brought back. You know, that's my whole point.
Well,
And if it's illegal, we should not be doing it. You know, that's the whole point.
I don't
No matter who the
It's
inspector
not
is.
illegal.
Yeah, she didn't say it was illegal. She
Well,
just
but
said
it's
they
not
don't
recommended.
They don't
Right, he's
recommend
abusing
It's not
his
recommended.
taxpayers' money,
Yeah.
it's not recommended.
and if he doesn't want to retract his motion, we can go ahead and take a vote on that motion. Or is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion does not pass.
Madam President, I will resolve to reimburse Dennis Lemieux $112.50 for half of the state registration fee from the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, Bureau of Construction Codes.
Motion by Mr. Ballard. Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies due to lack of support. Is there another motion? Okay, we can move on to the next agenda item. Huh? Yes, we did. So for upcoming agenda items, I don't know if we have, well, we have the DDA parade, or the, what do you call it?
Well, you're bringing special, we're gonna have 2 special event policies coming back. One is for the DDA parade and one is for the homecoming parade.
Any other upcoming agenda items? Hearing none, any citizen comments? Yes, Mr. Gillespie.
So you had kind of a lengthy discussion on the sidewalk thing and the DDA. So there seems to be that you have to have money spent by December. Why can't you just break up the bills and spend the $20,000 that you have to have spent by December? Because you don't have to have the whole 110.
We have to have 71,000 spent.
What's that?
71 or 77,000 spent.
So that's all prior years?
It's all moved, it's all prior years that were moved into this project.
So but don't you just have to spend the money that you're in danger of losing?
77,000, yes. But right now, I mean.
I understand what Mr. Deleke's saying.
Yeah, because
I think that goes back to when we thought we had 140. So maybe it's possible that he would drop it down, but
well,
just to
you only
continue the
get
project.
You only get $35,000 a year.
But we're not gonna get any more money now until 2015.
Well, we don't know.
No, I didn't know that, I was told that.
Okay, so,
Confusing.
Yeah,
Yes.
tell me about it.
Well, because you usually only have to spend, you keep it in your thing for 3 or 4 years, right?
well, they give us an allotment of money, and we
Right.
have to spend it technically by the next year, but they've
But
been
you
real.
can
but-
roll it over.
So now what they're doing is they redid the whole thing. They're giving municipalities a larger amount of money,
So
3
did you
years
get that
worth
larger
at
amount of
one
money?
point of time. We won't get it till 2015.
We're actually
When-
getting less money.
Well, we won't
But on
know.
a 3-year basis, in a one chunk.
We won't know what that number is even
until we get it.
until
Yeah.
2015. The whole program could be gone by then.
Right.
The program could be blossoming by then. We could get more. We just don't know.
And
So,
you'll still only have 18 months to spend it.
correct. And it is a larger portion of money, so you can do more of a project with it, as opposed to hurrying up and spending $30,000 every single year.
I got a project.
Okay. With that, any other citizen comments?
You can't pay water bills with them.
Oh, jeez.
Any council comments? Any council comments? Community events this Saturday. Armada Township Ball Field, Armada Fire versus Armada Police Department baseball
1 o'clock.
game. $1 minimum donation to ASAP per person. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be Junior Tiger cheerleaders versus ASAP cheerleaders too. Should be a lot of fun.
Rivalry continues.
It does. The fire department is pumped.
These guys put on an awesome game. I'm surprised.
Yeah, they
They
do.
did really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
1 o'clock. Be
Yes,
there.
bring your lawn chairs or blankets.
Yep.
Are there any other community events? Any other community events? Hearing none, we don't have a closed session tonight. The time is 8 o'clock.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Audi, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Wallach. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.